Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Virtual College Exploration for all North and South Carolina students, sponsored by the Carolinas Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers, more commonly known as CACRAO, and then our partner StriveScan. Thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions that are happening, so be sure to check out the full schedule at CACRAO.org. And this presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at the same website, CACRAO.org. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to our presenters.
All right, thank you so much, and welcome everyone. Thank you, CACRAO and StriveScan, for hosting us on this platform, and welcome to all of our students and family members that are in the room and chat room with us today. My name is Kimberly McCullough, and I will be moderating today's panel. We do want to just give a shout out to all of our first generation college students who are in the room and their family members. This session is a time for you all to hear from college professionals and just simply have a conversation with them about resources and opportunities that would be available for you when the time comes for you to apply and start your journey on your college campus. Before we get started, I do want to make sure that if there are any questions, please feel free to drop those in the Q&A box. If we are not able to address all of your questions today, we will have our contact information so that you can reach out to us, and we do encourage you to do so. First, I do want to get started with allowing you all to meet our panelists, our wonderful panelists in the room. Thank you all for being here and spending your time with us. First up, we have Dr. Victor Mack, who is the Director of Educational Outreach for our Cato College of Education at UNC Charlotte. Dr. Mack, thank you for being here. Next, we have Tristan Rainey, who is the Assistant Director of Admissions at Elon University. Thank you for your time today, Tristan. Next, we have Ms. Patty Clements, who is an admissions counselor at East Carolina University. A wonderful resource for you all. Thank you for being here, Patty. And next, we have Dr. Tierney Bates, who is the Assistant Vice Chancellor at UNC Chapel Hill. Thank you for your time today, Dr. Bates. And lastly, we have me. My name is Kimberly McCullough again. I'm the Assistant Director for Diversity and Access at UNC Charlotte in the Admissions Department. And I will serve as you all's moderator for today. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop those in the Q&A box as we go along. But we will get started with pitching the first question to our panelists. And that is, what does it mean to be a first-generation student? Is this something that I should disclose to colleges? So whoever would like to take on this first question or first two, please feel free to do so.
I'll jump in.
Thanks,
again, sure, no worries at all. What does it mean to be a first-generation student? I believe most of the panelists will agree with me when I say that basically you're the first member of your family to actually attend a 2, possibly even 4-year institution. That opportunity affords you access that other members of your family, previous generations, have not had as far as furthering their education, post-secondary education. And so we do firmly believe, I think most of us will agree, that this is something that you should disclose to your particular institution, as it will not only potentially unlock or provide you access to multiple resources, fiscal, even as far as scholarships and grants and things of that sort, but also multiple organizations, entities, individuals at your respective institution that may be able to assist you as far as your progression and matriculation to college. And so strongly encourage each and every one of you all to disclose that information, especially in the application process to your institution that you may be interested in, and also as you seek funding.
I would echo what Dr. Mack said. What does it mean to be a first generation student? Fear of the unknown for a lot of families and for a lot of students, because you're walking into something you don't know much about. You're trying to learn, you're trying to navigate overall. but do know most fears can be overcome. And so that's the beauty of being a first generation student, is that you will learn a lot on that path. I would definitely agree with Dr. Mack on disclosing that to your university or college. As far as that is concerned, it is the ability for some families don't realize they will be leaving money on the table if they don't disclose that from there. So it's important to understand that. There's also programs that are set up at our individual institutions to help guide, navigate, and support our first generation students as well.
Yes, and I would totally agree as well. First, being a first generation college student graduate and then now working in the Office of Admissions, I concur with both Dr. Bates and Dr. Mack. Many families feel as though, going into the area of unknown, there's a lot of uncertainty, right? In terms of how can we pay for college? What are resources that are here on campus? And if you were to talk to your admissions counselor or even members of the university, they can start to disclose things that are unique, one, to your specific family, but of course, secondly, to you as a first generation college student as well. I love what Dr. Bates said in terms of fear, right? On my very first day that I entered college in my Elon 101 class, the teacher wrote on the board, fear, right? And she really detailed out in terms of fear being just false evidence of being real. So as you go into a period of being in an area of unknown, you must move forward, not necessarily in terms of fear, but definitely just in the spirit of being comfortable being uncomfortable, because that is the area in which you will grow. And that's the area, especially as a first generation college student, that you will often find yourself in that.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything left to say. Those are all real excellent answers. I'm a first generation college student myself, college student attending and college graduate. My father actually didn't even graduate from high school. He went and got his GED. So for me, what it felt like was, I was kind of, and I'm from the Northeast, so I'm going to use a snow reference. It was kind of like plowing a road after a storm. There was nobody that went before me in my family that could help. So everything that from, looking for a school to the application process was something that I had to kind of go out and do myself. So when I'm talking with high school students in a college fair or any other setting, I love hearing that they're first gen, because I get to share some of the things that work for me. So absolutely, do not be bashful about, telling everyone that you're a first generation, because that's going to open doors and give you access to some resources.
Thank you all so much. Those were wonderful responses, and we are going to move on with that. So our next question for our panelists that we want to pitch to you all: what are some of the challenges that first generation college students and families can face?
I'll jump in real quick. One of the things, as my colleagues have said that have been first generation, including myself, is just the fear of belonging first and foremost. Depending upon the institution you choose or the institution you go to, there's something about that institution that drew you there. For the families, usually it's about the money for mom and dad, but for you, it's something that drew you there. And there's also that, do I belong there fear, or that identity, will I be represented? Will I feel like I'm supposed to be there in a lot of different ways? I think also going to the family side of the house is the financial. What we do a lot of times is teach people how to get into college. We understand talking to families how to get them into college, but we don't know how to support them through their journey. And that's one of the biggest things that we have to have conversations with our families about, because we all celebrate. I know when I went to school, everybody's like, oh, my baby going to college. You know what I'm saying? But when I got there, I was hit with all this stuff, and I couldn't go and talk to mom and dad about that in a lot of different ways. So I learned I had to rely on, other people and individuals. So we have to teach our families what it's like to support them from their freshman year, first entering, all the way through graduation and beyond, because they are first generation and they're first in their college. And there's that support that is needed by the family, not only on the financial piece, but also the mental, and just encouraging them that they can do it. I tell people, if you can get into college and you can pass the first semester or first year, you're fine.
Yes, and I would definitely have to agree with that. From my experience with working with current students, as a mentorship just past their admission process, but secondly, as a student as well. I know when I first came to campus, my mom was so happy that she dropped me off and drove away and said, baby, you're gonna have to figure it out. So during that period, right, it was a real change in my life. But I love, again, what Dr. Bates said. It's about support, and it's about the vision as well. You work so hard to reach that milestone of saying, hey, I've gotten to college. But I at least know myself when I was a student, especially within that first year, I lost sight of what is the end goal in this after I've reached that ultimate goal. So that's really just finding support, whether that's in student organizations, finding mentorship within campuses, relying on your professors. Many of them are willing to help and assist in so many different areas, whether that's their office hours or even just mentoring you as a student overall. So it's about, as mentioned before, just really finding that support. I know that was a rock in my college experience. And by way of that, I try to be that same rock for so many other students that I engage with, both on, again, on the admission sides and of course within campus as well.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on what Tristan said. I think the biggest challenge is for first gen students is to be their own advocate and to really kind of be, you know, almost forceful about getting the resources and the answers to the questions that they need. College is a little bit different than high school when, you know, you're really the driver of your own ship, so to speak. Sorry, there's a pirate reference. I can't help it. But, you know, it's just you're the one who has to be the one that's going to go out and advocate for yourself. So I think that's a big challenge sometimes for students who didn't have anybody do that before.
And I'll echo the sentiments of my colleagues as far as school is not just academic, it is very much social, and being able to make those social connections is pivotal. And when we say social, I'm not just talking peer-to-peer, but also mentor to mentee, as far as that's concerned, can play a crucial component, as Ms. Clements actually alluded to, as far as her success being a first-generation student, being able to make that connection and that sense of belonging, as Dr. Bates actually alluded to, finding someone that basically you can relate to, being able to share your interpersonal challenges, things of that sort, is very crucial to not just being able to meet those emotional needs that you may have, but also to someone to commiserate with just regarding those challenges that you may encounter, especially that first year. That mentor and being able to find someone of a similar ethnic background, things of that sort, those type of connections help mitigate a lot of these challenges that some first-gen students may experience as far as feeling, quote unquote, like a fish out of water as far as that's concerned. So very crucial, not just the academic piece, but that social piece.
And I would also echo for families, join the Parent and Family Association. Each school has one. And so join that mom, join that dad, or whoever the guardian may be, because there's so much information you can learn. And again, what I want you to understand is supporting them through the whole process, because come junior year, when you lose some financial aid based upon something or something shifts, usually the parent association or different organizations on campus can help you navigate, or extra funding you can find, because it just doesn't stop your first year that, hey, I got all this funding to go to school. You still got 3 more years to go to school, and things happen, life happens. And so understanding that being part of associations and different things give you access. You can come back for parent and family weekend. I'm a big athletics person, so if you want to come back and, you know, sit up in the stands with your son and daughter, from that perspective, it's also that. But that gives you access of knowing what's going on campus. And when you know that midterms is happening, you understand what is midterms and what's going on and all that. So.
Thank you all so much. I think that gave our students some great perspective into, you know, what's to come for them, but also how they can mitigate some of these challenges. I am a first generation college student myself, and I know a big thing for me when I was going off to college was just understanding all of the buzzwords that were used, first generation, office hours, all of these things that I wasn't really aware of what it meant. So a lot of times I do encourage our students to as Patty mentioned and that you all alluded to, was be your advocate and reach out and ask questions. There is no stupid question that you can ask of an admissions professional. A lot of students don't know that you can email your admissions office. So any college that you're interested in, feel free to drop an email and ask those questions or address those concerns that you might need to hear from, because at the end of the day, this is your journey, and we want to make sure that we're supporting you in the best way possible. So there are advocates on campus that want to make sure that you are succeeding in every single endeavor. So thank you all for that. So we will move on to our next question. Jumped ahead there. And if everyone could just go down the line and maybe highlight some of the resources that are available for first-gen students on your campuses. That way we get an even better picture of what support services are in place.
Okay, I can go ahead and start off. So at Elon University, we do have quite a few different opportunities for students, one on the financial side, but secondly, the support side, to make sure students feel supported during their time at the institution. On a financial standpoint, we have what we call our Odyssey program, which in part is an honors college, but secondly is a wonderful opportunity directed towards first-gen students to have the funding they need towards the university after financial aid to cover that associated cost. So therefore, you can, of course, focus more on your academics and less on the finance part. That's something that is a four-year commitment to the university and a four-year guaranteed funds for you as a student, but also they're going to have several different opportunities and programs to guarantee that students can, one, be professionally developed, get the associated student support services they may need, whether that's classroom assistance, tutoring services, or really just kind of a guide and mentor throughout the program and guide and mentor throughout their time here. So that is something that's directly targeted for our first-gen students. Once you kind of indicate that information on your application, we will then kind of prep you and of course allow you to apply for this particular program as well. Another thing that works with first-gen students, or at least myself, is when I went to college, I absolutely had no idea what I wanted to major in. So having the ability to, at Elon, not have to place a secondary application in order to declare a major or to be accepted in school works well for our students, especially our first-gen population. Students can explore and have the ability to do so without getting distracted or without having to do extra years here because of our academic advisor and our academic structure as well. One thing I do want to highlight, this is not necessarily something at Elon, but something I know at many public institutions as well as some private institutions, is a TRIO program called Student Support Services. That's something that tremendously helped me when I was in college, being part of that particular program as well. So therefore, again, when you go to colleges, whether it's private or public, please utilize those resources they do have on campus. But of course, that's just a glimpse into the Elon side.
Okay, I think I'm next in the row here. One of the biggest things I recommend to first generation students is when you register for your first semester classes, we have a 1-credit course called COAD 1000. It is basically, I say it's a class on how to be a college student. And it's going to go through 1 hour a week, all the resources that are on campus, strategies for success. And again, it's like just being a college course on how to be a college student. So I recommend that actually to everybody because nobody's been to college before in that setting. So it's useful for everybody. At ECU, we have this living learning community of students that live together called Camp Pirates. At the beginning of the year, about a week before classes start, students can move in a little early on campus. And we take them camping for a couple of days and teach them how to be a pirate and introduce them to some of the resources. So that's a way to make some strong connections on campus. Every campus has a tutoring center. I always say for all of my students, but especially first generation students, the first week you're on campus, just kind of walk into it. Don't have to get tutoring, just see where it is. You know, they're always very friendly. I mean, sometimes they have cookies at ours. I mean, so just kind of go in and say hi and know where it is so that when you do need it, it's not the first time you're walking into it, you know where it is. We have a writing center. There's going to be a lot of writing in college. So you want to make sure that you just, sharpen your skills a little bit. Communication center, presentation skills, interviewing skills. And again, these are resources for everybody on the college campus, but, really useful for students who are first generation. And like everyone's kind of said, just network, make connections, because what may be difficult to call a department and ask might be easy to ask the student across the hall, or a parent or somebody in a club, or if you hear somebody talking about it at an event, say, oh yeah, well what's more about that? So you can kind of get your information on the DL a little bit without having to be so forward and come out and get it too. So yeah, those are some things definitely that you should take advantage of.
And Patty, really quickly, could you repeat the course name that you
COAD
mentioned?
1000. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And most colleges have some form of that class. It's just, like I said, it's 1 credit, 1 hour a week, and just gives you all the inside scoop.
Similar to my other colleagues, we have what we call Carolina First. We're actually recognized nationally, working with first-gen students overall. We have it from academic advising to summer bridge programs that we do as well, working with our Office of Diversity and Inclusion. We have programmings and events particularly focused on some of our first-generation students. We have some mentorship availability as well with that going forward. And so we work not only just our first-gen students that might be first-year students, but also transfer as well. And so that's also a unique piece that's added there. And so just overall, we know and recognize here at UNC about 20 to 25% of our students that come here are first-generation college students. And so from that perspective, we really want to look at it as an equity opportunity as well for them to be successful and go on and graduate from the institution overall. And so we have the advising piece, the tutorial piece, all the support systems you can think of to wrap around a student being successful. At UNC Chapel Hill, we have that. As Ms. Clements and others have mentioned, it's one of those things that we kind of do an outreach to our students, but at the same time, students sometimes do fall through the cracks. So we want to make sure that we do follow up, and that's why it's important from the first question of recognizing and understanding that you're a first-gen college student coming to our campus, but we can make sure that you're using all the resources and that we are available for you here at UNC Chapel Hill as far as that's concerned. So I think it's very important to understand that everything, no matter if it's ECU, Charlotte, Elon, the resources are there for you at each campus in different parameters, and it looks different for every campus. But as a first generation college student, particularly here at UNC Chapel Hill, we have a lot of things through Carolina First. It's an actual program that you can go to our website and look up.
As my colleagues shared, a lot of this is very much reflected across the 16 campuses encompassed by the UNC system. But the UNC Charlotte has its University Center for Academic Excellence, which is actually our tutoring center. And that particular office also sponsors our University Transition Opportunity Program, or UTOP. And that particular program, as Dr. Bates alluded to, is a summer bridge program. And a great opportunity. Has been in operation on our campus for over 30 years now. And I've had multiple colleagues who actually been associated with that office and celebrate its success as far as it allowing or being able to provide I guess you'd say a boost as far as those students being able to get college credit during the summer for their participation in the program, access to not only resources within the context of the college, but they actually do field trips out into the community and take advantage of various resources, venues, things of that sort that can also enrich the college experience. So we not only want to see you be academically successful, but we also want to see productive citizenry. And we think that we pretty much cultivate that within the context of that program and many of the activities and organizations and clubs that you can also participate within the context of the college environment there at UNC Charlotte and for those other across the state. And so, again, UTOP program has been great as far as the summer bridge opportunity for our students, and in particular, supporting those first-gen students. And I will say also, and this kind of alludes to the previous question as far as challenges, the schedule as far as that particular program is quite packed. And one of the messages that they're trying to convey to the students is that you're going to have to be responsible for time management. And I think all of us can relate to the necessity there as far as being aware of your time, what you need, what your time commitments are, and what you'll have to prioritize in order to be successful within the college experience.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. So we are moving on to our last question of the day. So for all of my students and family members who are in the room today, please feel free to drop any questions that you have for our panel members in the chat box, and we will be sure to get to those after our last question, which is, what advice would you give to a student who was concerned about the financial, social, and emotional aspect of attending college for the first time?
I would say, let's break down all three of those. For a student from a financial side of the house, I would say if you're smart enough, you're taking advantage of that great thing called Google and finding how you can find other resources outside of the financial aid that the institution will offer you to pay for your college, whether that's through fraternity and sororities, whether that's through your church, whether that's through the Gates Foundation, different foundations in your community. There's a book called The Scholarship Workbook by Jessica Johnson, who's a friend of mine. Again, to all parents, it's a $10 book. It's called The Scholarship Workbook. Jessica Johnson went to college and graduate school for free based upon the work she did, and she basically teaches you how to apply for other grants, financial aid, and other pieces through that. And she's the scholarship workbook guru. She actually goes around and gives a lot of these talks from that perspective. And we've all heard about the one student who got $500,000 or $1 million in scholarships, stuff like that. That can be you. You're going to have to put some skin in the game, put some work in it, take some time to navigate that. But in today's society, I think that if you're a smart enough student and a family, you would take advantage of everything that's at our fingertips to be able to say that you're not coming out of pocket for a lot of different things. On a social aspect, I always tell people they need to do 4 or 5 things. One, when they get to campus, they need to find a faculty member who they can invest or want to do research with based upon their major or interest. 2, find a staff person that you kind of click with or you look up to as a big brother, sister, or whatever it may be. 3, find an older student who might be a sophomore, junior, or senior, who might become your mentor or help you navigate that institution. Specifically for my Black and brown students, usually there's some mentorship programs at some of these campuses overall. And then 4, find the secretaries or administrators, assistants on campus and get to know them. They know everything that goes on campus, and they know all the inside information. They can help you even from a financial aid standpoint as well. But those are the ones down the road that will help you also when it comes to career, will help you develop everything you knew, because it's not just about coming to college socially, because the social aspect is what you'll learn a lot about in college, but how are you using that to your advantage by the time you become a senior, that you're not saying, oh, I'm looking for a job, but saying I already have a job, which a lot of college seniors, when they get to, they're like, oh, what's next? Because they focus 4 years on studying, but your studying and your social piece should all be combined together for completion of college, but focus on going into your career, where you're walking across stage like some of our students here at UNC with a $5,000 or $10,000 sign-on bonus and a $60,000 a year job. The emotional piece, I would tell you right now, is very huge because we're in this whole COVID pandemic, racial unrest in our country. I know for my Black and brown people, a lot of time we say, go to church, baby, and pray about it. No, that's the uniqueness of coming to college. You will have CAPS or psychological services on your campus. Take advantage of it. You're paying the fee for it. If you need to get something off your chest, again, use it, take it to a disadvantage overall. There are going to be highs and lows emotionally. Get that first exam that you don't do too well on, you know, you're going to feel some type of way. But again, don't let that fester. Don't let that emotionally hold you in. Use the resources that are on campus to go ahead and outlet. And I think you see a lot now more since we're in this pandemic of teletherapy. And teletherapy has become very huge. And so don't think of it as a negative. I think there's stigmatism around therapy, and there shouldn't be. Even me, I need some therapy every once in a while. I'm pretty sure my colleagues on the call, we all need some therapy once in a while. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's healthy for us to do.
Yes, yes, and those are great sentiments. When I start to think over my college journey and the process overall, my mentor used to really say 1 or 2 things. He was like, number 1, Tristan, you are so involved. You really want to do well, but you have to learn how to get out of your own way. right? You have to learn how to take your successes and your failures and really push forward and move through it, right? Because in college, you're going to be challenged consistently, whether that's an academic level, a social level, or just even an emotional level. And you have to learn how to persevere and move through these challenges, but continue to grow and continue to have a certain spirit about yourself in it. That's the biggest advice that helped really change my life and how I progressed through my academic career as well as my professional career. And that's the piece of advice I would definitely say is just, again, get out of your own way, allow the environment to really manifest you into the person that you're wanting to be and are meant to become.
I'll hop in there. I think the biggest thing is to realize that you are not the only first generation student on the campus. You are not the only student who has ever had these concerns. I guarantee you just about everybody has those concerns in one form or another. So I guess just realizing that it's not unique to you, and that when you raise your hand in class and you ask that question, I mean, you've been on the other side of it. You're like, oh my goodness, thankfully that person asked that question because I really wanted to know. So, you know, be that person and ask that question and help somebody else out that way. But also just, you know, it is a 4-year journey, and it's going to go like that, I guarantee you. But it is a journey. So don't, you know, like Tristan said and Dr. Bates said, don't get hung up on every little success or failure. You know, just, it's part of a journey. Just kind of keep plugging. Every day, take one step closer, you know, to what your goals are, and you'll get there sooner or later, I guarantee you. But, you know, go easy on yourself, but, you know, don't let yourself off the hook entirely.
Now I'll echo again the sentiments of my colleagues. I will say that you will have to take into consideration these aspects as far as finance, how you socialize, and your emotional stability. Keeping in mind that you can't overlook these multiple aspects as far as what they contribute and how they affect your performance academically, how you interact with individuals within the college context. And all of these factors are contributing to your success, or for that matter, potential failure. And so you have to prioritize and take a look at each one of these aspects and making sure that they are being addressed. Because if you ignore some issues maybe with your finances, or ignore some issues as far as you socially and not getting out of the dorm room per se, or some other aspect as far as socialization, or even for that matter, sleep patterns, how you're affected by your interactions by some of your peers. If you don't address those multiple issues and so forth, they're going to affect you and whether or not you're going to be able to be productive within that particular environment. So I strongly encourage you to do that self-assessment. Look at what you're actually, what you actually need to be successful within this particular environment, and what you can do to more or less mitigate some of those circumstances and set yourself up again for just that success.
And that also makes me think of another point as well. One thing that helped me, or one thing I often tell some of my mentees, is be very with who you surround yourself by as well, on a personal level, even with your even with students that you surround yourself with. Be very intentional, right? Because oftentimes your support group will be able to help you get further and get, well, not necessarily further, but really develop yourself and really be able to stay consistent on the track as well. So keep in mind the friends that you make and the herd that you have around you.
I will echo what Tristan said. In college, you will make lifelong friends. To this day, all my buddies, the people I'm really tight with, are my college people I met freshman year or sophomore year, and been in their weddings and Godfather and all of this other great stuff. So you definitely take advantage of who you surround yourself with. Iron sharpens iron. Second thing I would recommend for any student, if you're not a morning person, do not take a class before 9 o'clock. I had to learn that the hard way my freshman year, because I'm like, oh, I get up, because I had to get up for high school. And then I realized college was freedom. So I didn't have to go to bed early. I didn't kind of can do, and I struggled with that 7:45 a.m. class. And so know yourself, as Dr. Mack said, and do a self-assessment of yourself from that perspective as well. And I would say third, as all of us have mentioned, is get involved, starting with your first year. Get involved in some organization, something that you maybe were in high school that is at the college level, get involved with that. Explore. Most schools have over 200-300 organizations that you can be a part of and be engaged. And I think it's important for you because data shows if students are involved and engaged outside of the classroom, more likely from a retention purposes, they will matriculate on moving forward as far as that's concerned. And I think last note would just be about major. There is nothing wrong if you don't know what you want to major in. That's the beauty of college as well. I think you can explore and you find yourself or what your true interests are from that perspective. I knew I wanted to be a broadcast journalism major, and I wanted to be on ESPN. I told everybody I was going to be the next Stuart Scott from that perspective. But I found my passion actually where I'm now in higher education. And so again, the degree should help you critically think and prepare you skill-wise. So don't get bogged down. And mom says, you got to study this, you got to study that, because I know what they're saying. They want you to be successful and make a lot of money. But you can make a lot of money and not be happy. If you find your passion, what you're happy about, the money will come.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. And I feel like I learned a lot today. So I know our students and family members in the chat room also did. I really appreciate you all just bringing so many different perspectives to the table as it relates to working with first generation students and their families and kind of how they can navigate the college application process and beyond. I think that's the most important piece, is how we can support our students throughout their time in college and even after graduation, giving them the tools that they need to really build upon that. So that will actually end our session for today in terms of questions. I do want to thank each of our panelists for being here and giving your time and expertise. It was so much invaluable knowledge that was imparted on us today. I do want to leave our students and family members in the chat room with each of our contact information, so please feel free to email us if you all have any follow-up questions, in particular about our roles at the university or next steps and how we can support you. I do want to open up the floor for any questions that we might have, and it looks like we have a few in the chat room today. So again, to my panelists, if you all just want to do what you've been doing and take these questions how you would like to. But the first question is, how do I get a mentor? We talked about mentorship throughout this session today, but how do students actually go about securing a mentor on campus or even before they get to campus?
For me, my process in finding a mentor was really just looking around the available resources I had near me. Whether that was class, I joined a plethora of different organizations that during my freshman year, or even, an opportunity to go to, at the time, one of our vice chancellors I thought honestly was a very good man, very good mentor, and really helped me out. And really just being able to go up to him and say, hey, I don't understand the process of getting a mentor. I especially didn't at that time, being open and honest, but I look up to you from, the things that I see you doing around campus. Would you mind just simply helping me through such and such? Or really, I'm looking for their advice here, and just being open and honest. And that always worked for me. Again, as I mentioned before, just being comfortable being uncomfortable, and that's a part of it, stepping into an atmosphere that you don't know or never done before. But I guarantee you, if you were to do it, it will work out for your benefit. No one on a college campus, for the most part, is here for your detriment, right? We're all here to help and assist you along the way.
Now I suggest ask questions. Like any start of a relationship, you basically want to try to get to know the person as much as possible. And even for that matter, even if you're searching for somebody within a specific field or a certain level of expertise, and you're having struggles with just trying to identify somebody as far as that's concerned, ask your professors, ask those graduate assistants, ask the multiple people that are there that look like they may have or may be in the know per se. And they can direct you. I strongly believe that, but don't feel like after the first 2 or even 3 interactions with somebody that, they're going to sign a formal agreement that you all are going to be mentor and mentee as far as that's concerned. It is a process, and your best friend didn't become your best friend overnight. It took time. And so like any relationship, it has to be nurtured over time. And so I strongly believe that, each and every one of you all will have that opportunity and be able to make those connections.
I don't agree with Dr. Mack. It's a courtship in a lot of ways. So this generation might not know about courtship, but I want to reiterate, it is a matter of once you get to campus, filling out the individuals that you interact, have conversation with, that one professor whose class you kind of like, that you do well in. And again, overnight, you will see the mentorship form. At some campuses, there's mentorship programs already in place, so you might be assigned a mentor. That's more not authentic, but more or less helping you navigate the institution. But the true mentorship pieces, as I experienced in my undergraduate experience, happen over a course of time, being engaged with a faculty member, engaged with a staff member, working. That's why I reiterate of getting involved. So I got involved, and my dean of students became a mentor for me because I got involved on campus my freshman year. So different things like that are very important for you to understand that you just can't walk in and say, hey, be my mentor right away, versus actually building the relationship, because they got to know who you are, and they want to help you, obviously, and you want to learn more about them and their journey. So.
So our next question, and it looks like, yeah, we're almost at time today. How do I convince my parents that my education is an investment? This is a great question.
As someone who oversees career services at UNC, depending upon what your major is, just show them the dollars that a college degree will make versus a high school diploma. That's plain and simple. Tell them what kind of jobs they need. Every job nowadays, I don't care, even if you're going into manufacturing, advanced manufacturing requires certifications. It requires some kind of extra credential. So that's what you have to tell your parents. I need credentials for future jobs that are not even created today for the future. And everybody knows the difference between a college degree and what a person will make versus a high school diploma. If they don't understand that and they want you to be successful, that's another conversation. But it's at the end of the day, if you will make more money with a college degree based upon the area of interest and just in general from that perspective. But you need credentials. That's why it's so important nowadays for credentials, period. It's the difference between $15 an hour or $35 an hour. So.
And you may start with a relatively high-paying job when you get out of high school, or a job that you think will be a high-paying job compared to what you've had. But then that's about where the ceiling's going to be. You're going to really need that extra, like Dr. Bates said, those credentials to get to the next level or to keep going up, so that you're not at that level indefinitely. So it's an investment, and it's a whole lot easier to do it now when you're 18 years old than when you're I'll just say older and you have other commitments and other responsibilities and stuff. This is the time in your life to get those credentials to help you be more successful. So yeah, absolutely.
And if you want me to talk to the parents, let me know.
Oh yeah, we'll all over that. I'm sure all of us would be more than happy to explain that.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. And we may have time for one more question, just a couple of minutes left in today's session. But we have our contact information here posted on the screen, but students would like to know what are the best ways to get connected to the colleges that I'm interested in?
From really any college or university, right? Connecting with your specific admissions counselor probably will be the first entry point into the university. They kind of have opportunities to connect you with other departments, other professors, should you want to kind of extend and further that information. But really, they will be the great resource in terms of connecting all the dots for you, especially if you're first generation college student. You may not know how to navigate the website. You may not know what departments to look into. So really lean on these said individuals. And again, we have all of our contact information up here. Those are great resources, but really to start there, I would say is the best advice and pinpoint I can give you.
And create an account with every college. Every college gives you an opportunity to create an account, set up your email address. We will reach out to you, I guarantee it.
And I strongly encourage also that you take in consideration open houses. We have what's called 9 or 4 day, where you're not only able to sit in on presentations and things of that sort regarding majors and programming, but even for that matter, even to maybe even sit in on a lecture to at least get that exposure. And so strongly encourage you to take advantage of those open house opportunities, whether it be Explore UNC Charlotte or whatever it may be called at the other institutions. But those opportunities are critical, and I think play a pivotal role as far as connecting to the university. And you'll have you'll have that personal interaction at those particular instances, whether it's pre-COVID or even now, as they've moved a lot of these type of opportunities online. You'll have those opportunities to connect.
I would echo with Dr. Mack. Take care of the virtual space right now. There's a lot of virtual open houses and abilities, so take advantage of that.
Well, thank you so much, panelists. And thank you to all of our participants for joining us today. When you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. Also, this is one of many sessions being hosted, so be sure to sign up for additional sessions at CACRAO.org. In about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recordings as well as all of our other session recordings at CACRAO.org. Thank you so much.